There's no feeling more intense than starting over. If you've broken your Scratch project moments after you've shared it, there's no feeling more intense than starting over. Or you spent hours working on a project, broken your Scratch project too late that moments after you've shared it unexplainably gone missing. Or you spent hours working on a project difficult to name thing too late that one of your sprites has unexplainably gone missing. Amazingly useful, but capable of made use of that difficult to name thing of thing as it dumps all your scripts in one big and amazingly useful, but capable made real progress coding a game over the course of the crying as it dumps all your scripts the next day to discover you weren't even logged in. If you've made real progress coding a game over the course of the week, only to come back the next day to discover you weren't even logged in. Nothing has been saved for that. Like if you've already had a bad day at school, is harder than starting what you're about to go through may be too much. If you're not ready for that, like if you've already had a bad day at school, I'll be here. What you're about to go through may be too much. All right. Thanks for coming with me on this trip and come back. I'll understand if you need to take a break at any point. Just find a safe place to stop. Thanks for coming with me on this trip by pressing P. I'll understand if you need to take a break at any point. You can find loads of find a safe place to stop and recreations of existing games by pressing P. And with good reason. George Bernard Shaw find loads of reimitation or reimagined not just recreations of existing games of flattery. And with good reason. It's the sincerest form George Bernard Shaw said. This game is a recreation of a game that came out in 2017. It's the sincerest form of learning with Bennett Foddy. This game as a game in turn was a homage to a free game that came out in 2002 titled Both Games Involved Dragging Yourself using a hammer. That game in turn was a homage to a free game that came out in 2002 from many other games. Both games involved dragging yourself appropriate then using a hammer when trying to recreate getting over it in Scratch and objects sourced from many other games. From the same assets used seems appropriate then millions when trying to recreate getting over the unmistakable contents of the Scratch costume mountain. From the same assets used in Unity or Unreal, Scratch does not provide you with the built-in physics of the Scratch costume engine. There's no state-of-the-art debugger. Like Unity or Unreal, Scratch does not provide you with a built-in physics or 3D rendering engine. Of experience, there's no state-of-the-art debugger. You can't even force a script by 360 pixel stage. We are forced to program old school. But these very restrictions force us 30 frames per second to think out of the box by 360 pixel stage as we become masters of all things Scratch. These very restrictions force us to experiment. Let's not forget to think out of the box. In technology to grow make up for in community. We become masters of all things fantastic bunch of budding software engineers. Let's not forget building, learning, creating, playing, remaking for in community. A diverse group of people. Fantastic bunch of budding software engineers. So skill building, learning, creating, playing, remixing. A diverse group of people. The active the very Scratch assets we now so skillfully in the real world to ascend has certain essential properties that give the game its flavour. No amount of forward progress is guaranteed. When you start getting over it, you're standing next to a dead tree, which blocks the way to the entire rest of the game. You prod and poke at it, exploring the limits of your reach and strength, trying to find a way up. When starting a new Scratch project, that initial blank slate is both refreshing and at times a little scary. It'd be great if we could travel forward in time and review our finished projects to see how well they turned out. I certainly wish we could. The real draw of coding, what gives it that special zing, is the challenge of accomplishing something you've never done before. At this point, you don't want to fall into the trap of rushing into creating loads of content, designing all the levels, the player costumes, all the easier stuff that can be perfected later. In the digital world or in the real world, has certain essential properties that give the game its flavour. Understanding the coding amount of forward progress is guaranteed, and try out any ideas to solve. Start getting over it. You may not be able next to time tree. But at least this way you get a good idea of how well the game project is likely to go. You prod and potentially save exploring the limits of your reach and strength, trying to find a way up. When starting a new Scratch project, that initial blank slate is both refreshing and at times a little scary. Wouldn't it be great if we could travel forward in time and review our finished projects to see how well they turned out? I certainly wish we could. The real draw of coding, what gives it that special zing, is the challenge of accomplishing something you've never done before. This project began life a couple of months ago as 3 simple scripts: the player, hammer, and level. I spent no time on the art, just using Scratchcat and a few rectangles drawn in the sprite editor. The scripts for the player quickly mocked up in a similar fashion to those I teach on my YouTube channel. With the hammer I had to improvise because I'd never done anything quite like that before, and boy did I prod and poke at those scripts. At this point, you don't want to fall into the trap of rushing into creating loads of content, designing all the levels, the player costumes, all the easier stuff that can be perfected later. No, before all that, you need to prod and poke that tree. That is, understanding the coding difficulties you're expecting to face and try out any ideas to solve them. You may not be able to time travel, but at least this way you can get a good idea of how well your project is likely to go, and potentially save yourself a lot of time. Oh man, you lost a lot of progress.
Same thing?
This is our year.
You know, if getting AT&T's best deal taught me anything, it's that switching things up can be a good call.
Get the all-new iPhone 17 Pro on us.